Okay, so for the second example for the normal and tangential, the problem is a race car C travels around the horizontal circular track that has a radius of 300 feet. And if the car increases its speed at a constant rate of 7 feet per second squared, starting from rest, determine the time needed for it to reach an acceleration of 8 feet per second squared. So, and also we need to determine um, the speed at this instant. So to gibang ita unsa ang iyahang time needed for it to reach an acceleration of 8 feet per second squared, unya unsa pod ang iyang speed at this instant na ma-reach niya ang koan ang 8 feet per second squared. So the time is 4.87 seconds and the velocity is 34.1 feet per second. If you notice, this is actually a the kind of curve. This one is a perfect circle, so it has a radius of 300 feet. So pag kuha na to sa normal acceleration later, the radius of curvature na to kanina circle, which is a curve, is the 300 feet. Okay, so given na nga to ang rho or the radius of curvature. So dili na problema ang pag-solve nato sa to ang radius of curvature. So let us solve this second example. Okay, so for the solution, atong first na to buhaton kung we solve na to ang for this problem for normal and tangential component is we establish the coordinate system. So coordinate system siya because it shows the N and T axis, the normal and tangential components nato mismo. And also, di ba kung mapansin niyo dire, ang imuhang normal acceleration is acting towards the center of the curvature. So it acts, since this is a perfect circle, it acts towards the center of the circle. So this will be considered as our coordinate system. Next is for the velocity. Sa velocity nato, if you notice sa to problem, wala tay given the value na velocity compare sa first problem na gisolve nato. Okay? But it is stated here that based sa second statement, if the car increases its speed at a constant rate of 7 feet per second squared, from the word na constant, okay? From the word na constant, ang ato ang 7 feet per second squared is actually a constant value. And if you remember the discussion about the tangential acceleration, if ever the tangential acceleration or the AT is a constant, say here sa to ang problem na 7 feet per second squared, so ang equation na gamiton nato are the equations na gigamit nato sa una sa free-falling body and also sa motion of projectile. So we do have S is equal to SO plus VOT plus 1/2 AC, ATCT squared. So that is the constant tangential acceleration. The first one is V is equal to VO plus 80 ct. And lastly is v squared is equal to vo squared plus 280 c times s minus so. So kaning tulo mo na itong gamito na equation para ma-solve nato ang velocity or gamito nato pang solve sa velocity. So which among the three equations ang gamito nato? Anyone who can tell me which among the three equations ang gamito nato based sa tong problem? Is it the first, the second, or the third equation? Unsa man atong gamiton? Nanatay 80c, that is 7 feet per second squared. Mao na tong tangential acceleration. So, which among the three atong magamit dire? Unsay mas dali gamiton sa tulo ka equation nato? Is it the first, the second, or the third equation? Second? How about the others? Second? Ang uban, unsa may kuan sa uban? Unsa inyong tubag sa uban? Second ba? Tama ba second? Or pwede na ito magamit ang other equation? Or other equations rather? That is actually ang gamiton nato diri is the second equation. Ngano man second equation natong gamiton? Second equation natong gamiton kay tungod 80c or the constant tangential acceleration kay given man, una pangitawon magud nato ang time later on. Pangitawon man nato ang time later on. And ang v mao man ang final velocity. So ang final velocity is, ang v nato is the final velocity. So based sa atong problem, that is the final velocity kung asa mag-reach siya og 8 feet per second squared. Okay? Unsang VO nato? Unsa ang atong initial velocity di ay? Unsa ang initial velocity nato kung second equation natong gamiton? That is equal to 0. Ngano man equal to 0? It is because from the statement na it starts from rest. So, since it starts from rest, therefore, that would be V is equal to 0 plus ang ato ang constant tangential acceleration would be equal to 7 feet per second squared. So, that would be 70. So therefore, ang equation sa itong velocity would be equal to 70. Okay, so atong kailangan pangitaon is ang time. So we need to determine the time para ma-solve nato ang velocity, ang final velocity. Whenever ma-reach niya ang 8 feet per second squared. So later na nato ma-solve once ma-solve nato ang time. So just a continuation, for us to solve the time, that is actually based from the acceleration. So sa acceleration nato, di ba ang tangential acceleration nato, that is a constant. Tangential acceleration. So that would be equal to 7 feet per second squared. Kay gano man 7 ang ato ang tangential acceleration because if the car increases its speed at a constant rate of 7 feet per second squared, so kung naga-increase ang ato ang speed sa tong car, ang iyahang corresponding na acceleration is always equal to 7 feet per second squared. So what I always tell to you, ang tangential acceleration o ang velocity are the same direction. So ang imuhang 7 feet per second squared is the tangential acceleration, especially that it is a constant. Ang sa normal, acceleration, that is using the equation na an is equal to v squared over the rho. So ang velocity na gamiton nato is atong kanina, that was 70 squared over ang radius of curvature nato or the rho is the 300. Mao na to ang rho. That is our radius of curvature. So that would be the 300 feet. Ngano man ang velocity nato is the 70 because ang velocity manggod nato, that is the speed kung asa pangitaon nato at the instant na ma-reach niya ang 8 feet per second squared. So unsang speed niya kung ma-reach niya ang 8 feet per second squared. So ang v nato ani would be the 70. So from the equation na acceleration, that is the square root of 80 squared plus an squared. So ang a nato or the final acceleration, if you read the problem, that is the acceleration of 8 feet per second squared, this one. So ang final acceleration is mao na acceleration na ma-reach sa to ang race car. So ang a would be the 8 feet per second squared. Ang 80 is the 7 feet per second squared, mao na ang constant rate. So that is 7 feet per second squared. And ang an is the 7, that is the 70 squared over the 300, tapos squared pa jud dato. Okay? Ang whole. So, ang nabili na lang na variable is the time. So, mao na tong pangitaon ng time. So, we need to determine the time. So, just a solution for this one. Just a continuation. 8 is equal to square root of 7 squared. Simplify na lang nato ni daan. That is 49 plus ang sa an, 70 squared over 300 tapos squared. Para matanggal ang square root, i-square nato both sides sa itong equation. So 8 squared, that would be 64. And that would be 49 plus 70 squared over 300 squared. Ang kaning sa second term, ang na ay 70 squared over 300, isa na ko ni i-simplify. Isa na ko ni i-squared ning 70 squared over 300. So ako buhaton, i-transpose na ko si 49 sa pikas. So that would be 64 minus 49 is equal to 70 squared over 300. Pila tong 64 minus 49? What is the value of our 64 minus 49? 15. So that would be 15. And then ato buhaton diri is tanggalon na to ang squared sa 70 squared. So square root na to whole equation. So mo na mahimo siya square root of 15 is equal to ma-cancel out na c squared. So that would be 70 squared. 70 tapos squared over 300. Then kani simplify nato ni siya. So baliktad lang nako para sa right side ang sa left side ang naay variable t. So that will be 49 t squared over 300 is equal to square root of 15. So i-cross multiply nimo, so that would be t squared is equal to 300 over 49 square root of 15. Para ma-cancel ang 49 over 300, i-multiply nimo 300 over 49. Then for you to determine the time is square root lang nimo. Di ba kung square root, ang answer niya is a positive and a negative. So that is the square root of 300 over 49 times the square root of 15. And since we're talking the time, ang atong gamiton lang is a positive value because time is always a positive. So positive always atong time. So every time mag-square root ka, kung nakay two values, positive and negative, positive always ang imong time. So what will be the answer of your square root of 300 over 49 times square root of 15? Pila man atong time nato dire? 4.87 seconds. So the answer would be 4.87 seconds. So ang time needed para ma-reach niya ang acceleration, ang final acceleration na 8 feet per second squared based sa problem is 4.87 seconds. And once ma-determine nato ang time, we can determine the speed at this instant. Unsang speed niya kung asa ma-reach niya ang 8 feet per second squared. So ang velocity nato na gi-solve kanina was equal to 70. So the velocity is equal to 7 times 4.87. And therefore the velocity of the race car at the instant kung asa ma-reach niya ang 8 feet per second squared is pila atong value sa to ang velocity? 34.09. So since atong unit is naka-feet, so that would be in feet per second. Okay? So that is the velocity of our race car and also the time, which is 4.87 seconds. So kana, this is an example kung asa si tangential acceleration is a constant. So if you notice, mas smooth or mas dali ang solution in terms of this problem kay tungod ang equation nato is using the same equation sa free falling bodies, and for the time needed to reach the acceleration of 8 feet per second squared, that is 4.87 seconds, and the speed kung asa ma-reach niya ang 8 feet per second squared also is 34.09 feet per second. Okay? So that is for the second example.